I'm back on my way down to Carmichael to visit Dr. Elliott, who is a gynecological oncologist. And I just re-listened to the 9.5 minutes that I had with him in April or May of 18, and now it's May of 2019. So I had gone to him because I had something happen kind of near an ovary. Basically, I had to have an ultrasound. They did the CA-125 test, which I guess is for ovarian cancer, and he ordered that, and there was something like some cyst or something showed up. But I guess these are kind of typical things that happen with a woman's menses. Things can kind of like show up and disappear, and that's what it seems like happened with me, because they did the ultrasound and he called me back then, a year ago. And now I'm going down to him for a slightly different reason. My medical oncologist up here in Grass Valley thinks that getting the ovaries taken out really is of no benefit or very little benefit. Because now that I'm done with chemo, radiation, and surgery, or chemo, surgery, and radiation, actually in that order, the question remains, what do I do for hormone blocking? And when I met with my doctor, my medical oncologist up here, he said basically it's a 1 in 10 chance that tamoxifen will work for me. So, will work for anybody. So I have to consider that and decide whether or not I think it's worth it. And then, so I'm basically going down to Dr. Elliott because a year has passed. I want to share with him how things are now. I hope he has a copy of my recent blood work so he could see. I know they tested the estradiol, which I guess is how you test estrogen. And it seemed like it was where it was supposed to be. I mean, Dr. Campbell up here, my medical oncologist, said that I show the signs of a postmenopausal woman, so it's unlikely that I'll get my period back. He said basically women in their 40s usually don't, although some do. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm going to go down and ask him what he thinks and what his experience is, and try to figure out what to do. I'm really reluctant, as I have been, the whole time. I've been reluctant about everything. Except for when I finally decided to do the standard of care and conventional. I said, okay, I'm doing this. But I still asked a ton of questions because I really want to understand as best I can. I mean, still there are things I didn't realize. But what I recognize is that the doctors can't really speak fully to each person's experience because people have such a different reaction. Like I forget what the steroid was. I think it was prednisone. The first time with the chemo, and I had a horrible reaction to it, and they can't just like go down the list of all the possible things that could happen to a person. It would take hours for them to go over everything, so they kind of have to see what happens to you and then deal with it, and then just report on the ones that are the most likely to happen, like fatigue, even though that's an understatement. Fatigue, there needs to be another word for the tiredness that accompanies cancer treatment, because fatigue is sounds so mild. You're like, oh, you'll just be a little tired. No, I think it's worse than that. You feel like you got hit by a truck. To me, is bigger than fatigue. So anyway, we'll see how it goes. I don't know, I'll probably do a little update afterward, but I'm really on the fence about it. And one of the biggest reasons is because of one of the effects that I'm not sure I can handle is the effects of aging. What chemo and radiation, and I don't know about surgery, but maybe it's to some degree surgery, because it really changed my life in so many ways as far as what I'm able to do for my own exercise. I just still have not figured exercise out. I mean, I'm working on it. I had a trainer and stuff, but the effects of aging, the effects on my skin, the effects on how I look in my face, the effects of how I look in my body, and anyone who doesn't have cancer is oh, big deal. Not everyone thinks that, but most people who think big deal, at least you're alive, are not people that are going through it, because when you go through it, it's completely different. I don't think we understand anything really without going through it ourselves. If we just understand it as a concept, it's pretty useless. So anyway, all that justification to say that it's hard. It's been really hard to look at myself and see how old I look and how different I look, which affects how I feel. And as much as I don't want to be that person, I am, I think we all are, unless we've reached partial enlightenment or something. We draw our cues on how we feel and how we look, and there's little connections between all these things. So that one's a really hard one for me, and I still might choose it, but 1 in 10 is not that great. So I'll just see what he says and go from there. So I met with Dr. Elliott yesterday, and from what I can tell, he basically said he didn't disagree with Dr. Campbell, the medical oncologist, saying that it wouldn't be that beneficial to get the ovaries out, but he did lean a little bit more. It's a bit of a contradiction because he did lean a little bit more on the side of, if you're my wife or daughter or sister, I would suggest that you take the ovaries out. So it's a little bit, to me, it feels like 6 of one, half dozen of another, and it's still difficult for me to make the decision. There are downsides to taking the drugs, and there are some downsides. The one I remember about getting the ovaries out is there could sometimes end up being a clotting, a blood clot issue. And who knows, there's probably some other things. So my next step is that I'm going to reach out to some of the Facebook group for support and see basically who's gone through what I'm going through. And the thing is that the estrogen is low, so I am considered postmenopausal, which my whole point is that if the estrogen is low, I don't want to take the drugs, and I don't really see the need to take the ovaries out from the information that I have to this point. And I did ask him, I said, okay, if I stall the decision to get the ovaries out or take the drug for 6 months, I didn't say the drug, if I stall the decision to take the ovaries out for 6 months to a year, is there any downside to that you see? And he said, no, that's fine. You can just deal with that down the line. So I just basically feel like I need another data point to just confirm that the estrogen is low. I don't really know how or what I could do, possibly another blood draw in some time and just make sure that it looks like, and they can test for the estradiol and see, because I just don't see, if the estrogen is low, I just really don't know why I would need to do anything to suppress the estrogen, even though I can't remember, but it's certainly over half of the breast cancers are hormone driven. So, yeah, I mean, every choice I've made along the way has been, I need to deal with what's in front of me and make a decision and, go from there. Like, I can really only deal with the thing that's right in front of me. I don't have the capacity at this point to think down the road many months and see how I'm going to go about stuff. So I still have a surgery in the fall, and between now and then, that is the other thing. I am going to Stanford again in July, I think, to meet with the plastic surgeon just so he can see what's going on with me. And I really just want to say, hey, look at the expanders, look at my skin. Does it look okay? And then I'm also meeting with a medical oncologist, a new one down there, because the other one I had is no longer there. So I will ask them, okay, because the gynecological oncologist said that it's not exactly, he doesn't really deal with hormone management, even though he's, he does what his job is. That's more of the medical oncologist. So they're all so specialist in what they do. So I'm going to just have another conversation with the medical oncologist at Stanford and then go from there. So that's basically the update with that. I feel pretty good about it. I mean, I'm still just eating and taking what I can to try to keep the estrogen down and avoiding anything in plastic, avoiding recycled toilet paper. I've said that one before. Any recycled paper, well, I mean, toilet paper is really the one because it comes in contact with the mucous membrane. And then, no plastics, and then no lavender, no tea tree. I know there are more at the moment. Those are the ones that I really am keen on, that I do regularly. I should probably look up again what else, but having the raw onion and the raw garlic and the ginger, those have estrogen blocking capacity, and also all of the brassicas, the bok choy and Brussels sprouts and broccoli and all that, and cabbage and stuff like that has estrogen blocking abilities as well. So that's kind of how I'm focusing on that. So there it is.